This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritschner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Now it's time for the Dayton preview here on the Rebound Rundown. David Jablonski joining me from the Dayton Daily News. Great to have you on here this morning, David. And we'll start here. Just some overall takeaways from the preseason, the offseason, and as I always say, your 30,000-foot view heading into this year for the Dayton Flyers.
They looked well in the preseason. They played two Division I teams. First time they've done that. First season that teams can do that. Beat Penn State 78-62. They were up by as many as 27 in that one. You know, young Penn State team picked to finish last in the Big Ten, so take it for what it's worth. And on Monday they beat Bowling Green 90-59 in their second exhibition game. Again, preseason games, don't know what they mean. They don't count. But Dayton definitely played better in the preseason this season than they did last year when they lost to Xavier and beat Division II Ashland by 9. So, you know, some of the questions you go into every season with: who's starting, who's in the rotation. I think most of those were answered. Two returning starters in the lineup: Javon Bennett and Amael Latong. And then you got Keontae Jones, transfer from Cal State Northridge, and Deshane Montgomery, a transfer from Georgia. Those two guys were probably the biggest two standouts in the games as far as the newcomers. Javon Bennett also was strong in the second game with 25 points. And the other starter was Jacob Connor, who played limited minutes last year. He's a local guy from Alter High School in Kettering near Dayton. So, yeah, overall, I think people feeling much better about this team after the two exhibition games than they did before them. But there's still a lot of unknowns, dealing with some injuries and an off-court issue with one of the players. That kind of cast a pall over the team this week. But, you know, they get a few wins at the beginning of the season, they'll be feeling better about themselves.
You mentioned Javon Bennett, obviously a huge name, huge contributing piece to this team. Do you expect him to just continue to elevate his game? And have you heard anything more about, you know, how he's been performing? Because obviously played very well the other night. So just continuing to lead this team.
He's the longest tenured Flyer, at least as far as games played. I mean, he's the only player who played in the 2024 NCAA tournament who's still with the team. They do have another player, Jayan Simon, who's in his third season, but he redshirted 2 years ago. So Javon's been around a long time, at least relatively speaking in these days when you're rarely going to have a 4-year guy. Finished the year strong, scored 30 points in the first round of the NIT against Florida Atlantic, but he's going to have to do more this season, you know, being the starting point guard. That was Malachi Smith's role last year, but Javon's had that job before. When Smith got hurt a couple years ago, he stepped into the point guard spot. The thing is, they really don't have a typical backup point guard right now with Adam Najai out with the eligibility issues, perhaps related to the gambling scandal that is all over college sports, at least according to Pat Ford of Sports Illustrated. So Adam's out indefinitely, but still on the team and still practicing. But without, you know, him, the backup point guard is a kind of a committee, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the transfers here. Is there one transfer that you feel like has stuck out to you, or somebody that maybe has flown under the radar that you're expecting to, you know, play a key role for this team this year?
The transfer that stood out is Keontae Jones. He's a sixth-year guy, played 3 seasons of JUCO ball, then 2 seasons at Cal State Northridge. He was one of the top-ranked transfers in the portal. He committed to USC in the spring before decommitting, and then, you know, had some legal issues back in Wisconsin, which don't have time to get into here, I don't think. But, yeah, one day after he was cleared, he signed with Dayton in August. So he missed the whole summer with Dayton, but a rare experienced guy, looks like a man, you know, just, you know, muscle of a guy who's 23 years old, the oldest guy on the team, strong, and really has a knack for getting to the basket and finishing shots from what we've seen so far. I think a guy under the radar maybe is Bryce Hurd, a North Carolina State transfer, didn't play much last season. He's the age of a freshman because he started college a year early and did some good things in the exhibition games and in limited minutes, and could see more from him once the games count.
Looking at the non-conference schedule this year, David, I really like the non-conference schedule. They have Cincinnati at Cincinnati, Marquette at Marquette, Virginia neutral, Florida State at home, also mixed Georgetown in there. I believe that's is that in the MTE? Is that Georgetown game?
Georgetown and then BYU or Miami, the Hurricanes.
Yes. So the way that this non-conference schedule came together, I think it sets up Dayton. I mean, clearly they're going to have to do some work before they get to A10 play, and they have the opportunities to do it. How do you like this schedule?
It's a great schedule. It was only a few years ago. The AD, Neil Solomon, was talking about how difficult scheduling is, and he would still say that, but he's done it 2 years in a row. They've put together a schedule that gives them a chance to build a NCAA tournament resume. They did that last year. I mean, they were 10-3 in non-conference play. We're sitting pretty until they lost 3 straight games in A10 play and kind of fell out of contention. But again, this schedule gives them that chance. Really tough early games, though, going on the road to Cincinnati and Marquette. I think if you can just win one of those, you'd be very happy. Road wins are really valued by the committee, so that it gives them a chance. And they got some home games in December against decent teams. Florida State, Liberty, kind of an underrated opponent's had a lot of success lately. It's also coming to UD Arena in December. So, it's exciting, but we'll see what happens.
What would you say is the biggest strength of this team and the biggest weakness of this team?
Defense is supposed to be the strength. They really addressed that in the portal, went hard after guys who known for their defense. Keontae Jones definitely takes pride in his defense. Montgomery was really enjoying playing defense the other night. Jordan Durkak, Rutgers transfer, who we haven't seen. He missed a lot of the offseason after undergoing surgery, and now he's been out after suffering a tough fall in practice. He's missed both exhibition games. He's supposed to be strong on defense too, but we haven't seen him yet. We don't know when he'll be available right now. But defense was a weakness last year and should be a strength this year, and so far it has been in the preseason. A weakness, depth already is an issue. They've got the freshman guard Jaron McKee out for the season. They started the season with 12 scholarship guys. His loss, they're down to 11. I mentioned Durkak. He's been out, so down to 10. And then Adam Najee, the transfer from Iona, down to 9. So now you got 9 scholarship guys right now, maybe 10 if Durkak is available. So the margin for error is a little thinner now. With those injuries and other news. So we'll see what happens there too.
Looking at last year's team, I mean, obviously what happened in the non-conference was very different than what happened in the A10 once conference play came around. But you finished the non-conference schedule at 10-3, and at that point you feel like you're playing for seeding in the NCAA tournament, and then things fall apart in conference play, and you go to the NIT. And so this season, do you feel like this is the way it's constructed, a tournament team, and they need to win their games and do their jobs, and they'll be playing in the NCAA tournament? Or is this a team that is going to need to do a lot to get to the tournament?
That's so hard to predict. I mean, 8 newcomers on the team, 4 returners. They did look good in the preseason, so you feel a little better about them, their chances. But it's a long way to an NCAA tournament berth, and it's hard to get if you're an A10 team. And 2 of the last 3 years, the A10 has been one big league. Nobody other than Dayton did enough in non-conference play to get into the tournament. Last year, VCU, I think, would have been left out if they had not won the A10 tournament. They just didn't do a whole lot in their non-conference games. And so many of the A10 teams don't even have the opportunities on their schedules to get those big wins. Dayton easily has the best schedule in the conference. But you got to go 15-3 or 14-4 in the A10 to have a chance and win a couple of those big non-conference games. And they've only done it twice in Coach Anthony Grant's first 8 seasons. If you give them credit for 2020, which everybody should.
We will do that, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, they've played in the tournament once, but they would have played again. But twice in 8 years for a lot of Dayton fans is even enough. They want to be getting there every other year. I think 3 or 4 bursts in 10 years is probably a reasonable goal. Archie did it 4 years in a row, but that's the only coach who's ever done that at Dayton, building that kind of consistency. Consistency is what they're after, and it's really hard to get, especially when you're rebuilding the roster every year. So would I predict that they're going to make the NCAA tournament? No, just because it's so hard. But I would not be surprised if they do it too. I know Dayton fans don't want to count on winning that A-10 tournament, though, because they haven't done that since 2003, a long time ago.
Dayton was picked third in the preseason poll, VCU first, St. Louis second. Dayton got three first-place votes. They're in third, followed up by George Washington and Loyola Chicago. David, do you have any overall thoughts on the state of the conference this year?
I think VCU has to be looked at as the favorite in most years because they've been the best A-10 team since they joined the conference. Not by a whole lot. When you go to look at the head-to-head, Dayton and VCU have split it the last 4 seasons in the regular season, but VCU is 3-0 or 4-0 against Dayton in the A-10 tournament, and has won a couple championships where Dayton has really struggled in that tournament. St. Louis, I think their fans are pretty high on the Billikens' chances in Coach Josh Schertz's second season, but so many teams have so many newcomers. I mean, VCU has a new coach, Martelli Jr., and a lot of new players. People are high on George Washington too, but GW hasn't won anything significantly in a long time, so they'll have to prove it on the court. I think it's a pretty wide open, but only probably 4 or 5 teams that can win the conference. Dayton among them. Dayton, say what you want about their lack of A-10 tournament success, but they've been very consistent in finishing in the top 4 in the last 4 or 5 years. So that's one thing for Anthony Grant's resume, I guess.
Final thing for you, is there anything we haven't covered yet? Any question I haven't asked? Any news or nuggets that Dayton fans should know listening to this heading into the season?
No, I don't think so. They're pretty happy with the state of the revenue sharing. Dayton should be well positioned to compete as far as paying players in the portal, averaging 13,407 fans every game. They sold out a 5th straight season. I guess we should mention that. Sellout streak's going to reach it's at 77. It'll be at 94 in March. They never sold out a season before this 5-season streak. So fan support remains high despite the somewhat ups and downs. Last year was a roller coaster. I mean, everybody really loved the first 2 months of the season and didn't enjoy the last 3 months very much. Dayton fans wince anytime they get an NIT bid because nobody wants to watch that anymore. So they don't want to end up back in the NIT, especially after a great NCAA tournament win in 2024 against Nevada. They're eager to get back there as usual.
David, appreciate you joining today. Tell people where they can follow you or read your work if you're, when you're covering the team this season. DaytonDailyNews.com is the best place. Lots of social media content at every place you can think of. David P. Jablonski on Twitter and Instagram, even TikTok. But plenty of places to cover the Flyers. We're the last paper in the A-10, at least, that goes to every road game. So I've got a lot of fun road trips coming up. And I appreciate you having me on. Absolutely. On TikTok. I love that.
Of course.
I love that.
Yeah, got to.
All right. Appreciate you, David.
You're welcome.